I'd like to introduce Nadja Corcoran, who's from Student Financial Services. She's a great resource for students and families on how to navigate everything from work study to financial aid to the billing process. And so I know a lot of you have questions specifically about that, so we give her to you first, so we can pump her full of questions. And she has staff, and they'll both stick around afterwards when we have our break, so if you have specific questions about your student, have that opportunity as well.
Thank you. So my job is to make student financial services info entertaining, so you can see how fair that is, right? So I'm trying my best, but I have no juggling act or cartwheels or anything like that. That actually would be pretty funny. But so anyway, my name is Nadja Corcoran. I'm excited to see out there some faces I recognize. That means we're doing our job. That means you're coming to see us. And I think this is maybe something I haven't been in higher ed very long, but I hear that it's unusual to have access to student financial services. I know a lot of you have first-time children, but maybe as you were exploring other colleges in your process of choosing UNE, that is hard to get information when you need it. And so my job, they've actually, like Cynthia said, the president is very committed to making this accessible and to making, you know, the one-on-one interaction that you need to have when you're making the kind of investment in college that you are. So we recognize that, and we've really set our office up for you to be accessible and so that you can get answers when you need them. And we're very, very focused on customer service. So that's something I'm committed to, I commit my staff to. I have Rachel Tripp here with me. She's one of the assistant directors. We're here after my presentation to answer whatever questions we possibly can. If it gets into more depth, we'll probably encourage you to set up a meeting with us. Our phone call works too. We can set up appointments for that. But just so you know, I want to really emphasize that we're here for you. There is no stupid question when it comes to this. I understand this too. I have kids who are teenagers. I know there's so many emotions going along with this, sending them off, and then the finances of it, and so I really do get it, and I get that we're supposed to treat them like they're all grown up, because everything you're going to hear me say is basically they're in charge of this, but they're not able to navigate this by themselves. So we're trying to set up a system where you can reach us and you can get a hold of us, and we do want them to be part of the process because it is their education and they are their finances, but we know you're part of it too. So just to say all of that to start off. And then I know that the bird and the nest thing is the analogy, you know, the little birds leaving the nest is the analogy we keep using about sending them off. But one of the funniest things I've heard when I sent my oldest off is that little birds, when they leave the nest, they tend to leave droppings. So has anybody had that experience? You know, they're leaving droppings for you? Right, so that's the polite way to say it, of course. But so we'll start it. And again, I'm doing my best to make this entertaining. A lot of it is nuts and bolts kind of stuff. I hope you're getting the questions answered that you need answered, but please don't hesitate to contact us if something needs clarification. Okay, so here you are, orientation. You probably might be wondering a little bit, you're probably going to get this, but I have to remind you that December 11th they start showing up on your doorstep again, and then they don't leave again until January 20th. So that might be frightening all at once for you, but my news to you and to them is get them working during that time, or they'll drive you crazy. That's a long time to have them home when you've been used to having them gone. So one of the things we want kids to be, as much as they possibly can be, as a part of the process of helping to pay for this, even if it's just little bits, even if it's just, even if it's just for the principle of it, just get them working and participating in this so they're invested in their education as well as you. You shouldn't have to do all the work. So make sure they could be looking for a job now for Christmas, right? So one of the things I want to point out is this, when you did receive your bill in the mail, sorry, you can see the bursar's office is not here presenting with me to deliver that news. But you did get with the bill an undergraduate startup guide, basically, that should help explain all of these crazy hoops you have to jump through to get all of this taken care of. We do understand, and I know Angela understands too, there's so many pieces of paperwork that need to be completed, and some of it is just because they're new students, and some of it has to be done every year. It's just kind of the way it goes. A lot of what we deal with, a lot of federal guidelines and things like that, they're just so you understand, there's a lot that is not in our control. What is in our control is we're trying to make it easier on you and trying to at least navigate through it in a way that is more helpful. So that's sort of my job. You can see how challenging my job is, right? Trying to make this stuff easy. So actually, just one of the things I want to point out, if this undergraduate startup guide, you're going, I have no idea what you're talking about, you can access it at that website, that web address, UG Startup Guide, okay? So that actually will give you a great laundry list of things that you need to do or your student needs to do to get ready for August 3rd, which is when payment arrangements are due, okay? Okay, so our office is set up, it's UNE Student Financial Services. It used to just be the financial aid and bursar's office. Financial aid, they basically make the FAFSA goes to them, they make the financial aid award, they disperse the money, all of that. The bursar's office is they collect the money, and then I'm stuck here talking about that because I'm the outreach and planning team. So we actually have 3 teams of people. We all work together, we can all answer your questions. But that's how we're divided up. So we've committed 1/3 of our department to being here for you and working with you and making sure that you get your questions answered. So a little bit about what you need to know before they go. I kind of summed it up in 10 steps, though it's not really just 10 steps. But so these are the things we'll go through: setting up their accounts, notifying us if they have scholarships, all the way down to completing other to-dos that might not have anything to do with us necessarily, but might have an impact on the actual bill that you'll receive or you'll be looking at. So one of the things you'll hear, they're hearing today, I believe, they're having a session on how to navigate U Online, because that's the student portal. That is really important information on U Online. So what that has to do with you, kind of the talk in the car on Friday, is did you sign the authorization for release of information? That's what you want to ask them. That's the key part for you. They'll learn how to navigate you online. But for financial aid and student accounts to be able to talk with you about their account, we have to have an authorization signed. It is on you online. That's where they can access it. And you can't access you online all by yourself. They have to be with you because they're all grown up now, right? And because that's right. But that's the talk you want to have with them. That's one key thing we need them to give us the permission to speak with you and whoever is important to speak with about financial aid and billing. Okay, so that only has to be done for financial aid this one time. Okay, so just anybody have questions about this?
So there's only a student portal, and so there's not like a parent portal?
There is a parent portal for billing, so I'll go over that. As far as their grades, I know. See, this just isn't fair. But as far as their grades and their financial aid and all of that, the financial aid will be reflected on the billing portal. But as far as U Online holds everything. It holds their course registration, it holds their grades, it holds their financial aid information, their student accounts information. So we're not allowed to give you access to that. It's basically the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. It's very much like HIPAA. I remember going to the doctor's office with my son, who was not all grown up, was 18. He turned 18 and the doctor said, "Oh yeah, we can't talk to you anymore. He's 18. I'm like, really? Like, I don't think he knows how to blow his nose by himself, and you're telling me I can't talk to you about his health. So again, if you think of it that way, it's like HIPAA. We can't actually speak to you about their accounts, as ridiculous as it sounds, unless we have that FERPA authorization. Okay? So, yeah.
Isn't that something they have to do? Because my daughter was looking at it online.
Yeah.
They said it had to be done in person, so she had to have a photo ID and sign in front of something.
That's something that's something different. That's the work study. No, this is something different.
No, it wasn't for a work study. It was for,
This is the other one. Okay.
This is the financial authorization form, which is online that they can fill out and send in to you.
Yes, ours is online.
And
Yep.
what you're talking about is there's another annual waiver they can sign from the registrar's office, which allows folks here to talk to you about grades and that sort of thing. But that they have to actually do that. They have to be in person.
two different.
Two different
Right.
things.
Okay.
They have to do that every year. Most students don't do it because you can just ask them to pull up their grades and show you, which is a whole lot easier.
Okay, but this could be done online. No
And it's just a one time. Yep.
Right, exactly. Sorry about that. I didn't realize that's how that one works. Because then there's a whole I-9 thing with their IDs for work study. So we'll talk about that in a minute.
We went in and did this, and then the last time I called, was we need to have you sign the sheet to sign out that information. So is there a trick to it? 'Cause
No,
ours
no,
is
we
not-
should if she submitted it. We should. We try to go, try to do a good job tracking them all.
So
but-
when talking to me, did they just not look to see?
They might not have,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, if you're sure she did it, then, yeah, then we should have it. I mean, again, there, you know, we're humans, I guess we have hiccups and stuff, so, but if the student has signed it, submitted it, we track all of those things on a daily basis, and we should have all of the information filled in. So the student's UNE email is really important. Again, they'll learn today how to set that up, but pretty much, once they start school, any communication will go to their UNE email address. There is a way for them to choose to have email forwarded, you know, their UNE email forwarded to the account that they prefer, but it's very important that they understand that any communication from us, for sure, is going to the UNE email address. One of the things we're trying this year, which is a little bit different, is, again, because I do understand how important you are in this process, is that, again, we can't send you the same email that we're sending the student because of FERPA. However, what we are trying to do is when there is an important email that goes to your student, we're sending sort of an alert to parents. Just want to let you know, this is our way to work around it. I feel like my whole job is working around the government regulations, but the way we can work around it is to basically say to you, your student has received an important communication, please talk to them about it. That's essentially what it says. So if you get that, you can, you know, it's an excuse to call them up and say, check your email. I know my email. My email is so completely blown up by junk mail. It really is easy to miss emails. So that's one of the things. But the student financial services ones are very important. It might be we're looking for documents or something.
After they do the FERPA, then would the email also come to us?
No, we still can't send them to you, but we can talk to you on the phone and an email about it, but we can't actually send the email to you. So, yeah, I know.
Can you have the student automatically send it to another address being a parent?
I don't think we have the ability,
No,
the student can,
They can do
absolutely. The
whatever they
student
want.
can do whatever they want with the email, absolutely. So yeah, you could set up an automatic rule or something to forward it to you. That's a good idea. That's one I hadn't heard of yet, yeah. So you could have them set up a rule that anything from student financial services automatically goes to you. You have the technology to do that, right? Okay, so, and then we have a new thing that we're all just learning, so be patient with us, but it's basically our online billing portal. You now have access to the bill. Before we had to explain to parents, no, we're sorry, we can't give you access to the bill online. It sounds ridiculous, it really does. So the university's been working really hard, has invested a lot of time and money into setting up this new system. Somebody told me in a previous session that it's fantastic. Easy to navigate. The student must, this is something else you want to talk to them in the car about, they have to add you as an authorized user. Okay, so they'll access TouchNet, or basically UNE's online billing, through their U Online account. But they have to add you as an authorized user, and then you can go in and out of it as you please, but they have to actually add you as an authorized user. So that's really important. And we'll go over more what TouchNet is later, but basically it's basically live online access to your bill. It'll recalculate every day according to different things that happen to the account, okay? Okay. This is just a little bit, just so you know, again, you won't have access to this, but this is what U Online looks like for them. If they're having trouble, this is a little bit different this year because they're actually having a mandatory session that they have to attend where they actually set up U Online. In the past, they didn't, so I used to give these instructions. But if for some reason they are having some trouble with this, you can have them go to new student instructions, and it gives them some guidance on how to set it up. But I think probably it'll be all taken care of by the time they leave here on Friday. This is how they log in. Students will be guided through this, like I said. Okay, so we talked about the authorization, so I'm going to kind of go quickly through this. This is what I just talked about adding important others as authorized users. Once you have been added as an authorized user to the online billing, you can get to the page where you can log in by going to une.edu/myUNEbill. Okay. One of the things I've done since I got here is I've created a lot of these easy, quick links that get you exactly to where you need to go, so you don't have to navigate the entire website to get where you're needed. So myUNEbill will take you to the place where it shows you authorized user access and how you click in and get to it. And then the FERPA, we talked about that. All right, completing financial aid requirements. We did meet with a few of you today. Whoops, sorry. We did meet with a few of you today. If your student is, any of the scholarships, we just assume that you want. I think that's a safe assumption, right? I don't think anyone's going to argue with us putting a scholarship on your account or your student's account. So, but the actual loans and work study, we need a decision on those, okay? So some of you may have gotten a bill and you're like, wait a minute, this is not what I thought it would be. It might be that your student hasn't accepted the loans yet, okay? So if that hasn't been done, that's something that should be taking place soon. Maybe that's something this weekend you can work on if it's not done. But again, a decision has to be made. So they have to go into UNE Online. They have to, this is done. They have to, does this have one of those fancy little pointers? Oh, look at that. I've never done that before, it's very exciting. So I feel really important. So anyway, one of the things that trips people up is they first have to go into this tab and accept terms and conditions. Probably have some people think, all right, all done, accepted the loans. Okay, there's a second step, of course. You'll see here that right now this isn't gray, but once they accept the terms and conditions, that this will be gray, and they can click onto that tab and they can go accept the award offer, which means the unsubsidized, subsidized loans. If a Perkins loan was offered, that would be one of the loans they'd be accepting, and work study. So all of those items need decisions. So you can accept the entire amount of the award. If everything's going to be accepted, you can make decisions on each of the different loans. Some people will choose to accept the subsidized if it's offered because the interest does not accrue while they're in school. That's a need-based fund, so you, depending on what your expected family contribution is, you may or may not have gotten the subsidized loan. Everybody's entitled as a first-year student to get $5,500 in unsubsidized at least. Okay, so you will, but that, the unsubsidized direct loan, the interest does start to accrue while they're in school. It can be deferred to the end, but it does start to accrue. That's the difference. The Perkins loan is also the interest, basically the government pays the interest while they're in school. Okay, so that's the difference between those different loan funds. Did you have a question?
I did. So if they're planning to do work study, but they get the check, how does that amount not need to be financed in between?
That's a good question. The work study award does not get deducted from the bill. Okay, it's part of the financial aid award because it's based on need. Okay, so it has to fit into the budget based on the expected family contribution. So we can award it to some people and not other people, but we can't. The assumption has to, we can't assume they're going to actually, if we give them $3,000 in work study, we can't just hack it off the bill, because who would show up to work if that was done, right? I know I wouldn't show up to work if somebody just deducted from the bill, right? So they actually earn a paycheck for work study the way it works here at UNE. It's minimum wage. If they're given a certain amount of money, let's say $2,000, $3,000, they can earn up to that amount of money. Once they go over that, which is very rare, then it becomes a decision of the department that they're employed with, whether they want to fund that out of the the department budget. Okay, so I'm not sure I'm answering your question though. It doesn't get deducted from the bill, so that's, you have to plan on, if they were awarded $3,000, that really doesn't come off the bill, so that's got to be factored into what you borrow or pay out of pocket.
So is a work study just a guarantee that they'll get some kind of job making at least that amount of money?
Yes,
It's like
exactly.
spending money.
It's what?
Spending money?
Spending
Right,
money.
but I'm just trying to understand because
Yeah, it basically says, yes, they can definitely work on campus. If we have plenty of work study jobs, UNE commits. Out of the money we have for work study, UNE commits about 50% of it. The federal government gives us about 50%, and then UNE kicks in another 50, or we wouldn't have enough jobs to fund work study. So it basically is just a commitment by the university that there will be jobs for them. There are plenty of jobs. There are lots of jobs that go unfilled every year. So they may not get their favorite job, whatever. I still don't know what the favorite popular jobs are. I really don't. They're like, well, I get a good job. Depends what you define as a good job, right? So, but yeah, the popular ones go fast. So the research jobs, I guess, they like to work with the professors, research and stuff like that. You can understand that. But they just have to establish relationships with people, and that's how they get those kind of jobs, right? So it's really important that they take advantage of work study. It's a way to make connections. The work study The whole program, we understand their students first. I'm getting way ahead of myself, but that's okay. I know, it's okay. It's all part of the presentation. I want to do what's best for you. Work study is a really important way to connect with people here. You know, our work study, we happen to have all girls. They're our babies. We love them. They're like our little family. So it really is a great way to get to know people on campus and to make connections. So besides making a little bit of money, some kids save it for books, some kids save it for the bill for the following semester, some just use it as spending money. You know, it just depends what your family wants them to do with the money. So this is how they'd accept work study as well as other loans that they can offer. The other thing that needs to be done once they've accepted the loan, the terms and conditions and the award, is they have to, for direct loans and Perkins, they have to complete the master promissory note and entrance counseling. For direct loans, they'll go to studentloans.gov. That's where, you hear me saying they will do this. This is their responsibility. I want to caution you to do it for them because they really need to understand that these are loans in their name. They will affect their credit down the line. They will affect, if they pay those loans, they affect their credit very positively. But you just want to make sure they're part of this process. And because we have had Donna, who works with Rachel, she's sat with seniors at exit counseling who had no idea that they had loans in their name because the parents had accepted them. And I'm sure none of that is going on here. But I just want to caution you that you want them to, if you did it, then just sit down and explain that you did it, and this is why. It is your decision too. But I just want to caution you that they understand that they do have student loans in their names and they are responsible for paying. And that's what the entrance counseling will do for them. It'll kind of explain how that all works at the end of it. Perkins loan's a little bit different. We're kind of, again, another thing to work around the government process. It didn't quite work out for us. I'm really dumping on the government. I don't mean to, but they just make our lives difficult sometimes. The whole IRS tax transcript thing made our lives, you know, just a little bit of a nightmare. For the Perkins loan, we actually need them, for the most part, what they need to do, they have to sign a master promissory note. And we're actually, they threw another curveball at us that it wasn't, the online process wasn't working. So now we have to do, a lot of the kids are having to do the paper master promissory notes, but that's why we had some at check-in. So we had a lot of them do them, and then they'll get an email with the entrance counseling. Okay, so that's our, again, our workaround. It's working, it seems to be working. It's the old-fashioned way with paper, but it's working. So if your student has a Perkins loan and hasn't done the master promissory note and the entrance counseling, just have them come see us and we'll get them all fixed up, okay? So again, but it's just important they understand that borrowing is going on and that what the, you know, what those requirements are to borrow.
How would they know that they did the master one? How would we ask a student if they, she said she did a lot of this stuff, but
Right.
I want to make sure that the master one is done.
Well, studentloans.gov, that's all that's available is the master. It says, I think it says complete the MPN or master promissory note. So if it's a direct loan.
She would have received a confirmation email confirming that it was successfully completed, so she could check her email to know that she did it.
And she can even call us or stop in. We can check it for her. So
That could be something that we check for you while
Yep.
you're here also.
That's right. Yeah, sure. Question?
It
Yeah.
would be on the bill that, when the bill came, those two of them were on there. Would it have been on there?
No, if they didn't complete any of, if they missed any of these requirements, it wouldn't be on your bill.
Okay, so
Okay,
if it's
per
on the
bill, sorry.
If it's on the
The-
bill.
If it's on the bill, it was taken care of, exactly. That's a good check.
And my daughter gets emails that say you have not completed blah, 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 so you can ask if they're getting those as well.
Right, exactly, absolutely. Yes, we do kind of email you a lot. We really want you to know that we're here for you, and we really do want you to call us. I don't want to be sitting there going, I have nothing to do. So please call us, please check in, please stop by. You know, it's good job security if you're doing that, so, yes.
In the institution you're taking the loan out for, I should say the student takes the loan out for, when it actually gets transferred into the accounts, or I should say the payment for UNE, does UNE actually take and notify either the student or the parents?
At the end, like when they graduate?
No,
No,
during the semester.
I'm sorry.
The semester, each semester that you pay for,
Do we notify you that it's been done?
that you guys have accepted the payment?
Like, that you got the institution made the payment to the school, yep, it's all good.
Oh, that the money was dispersed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do we send anything out that?
You would see it dispersed onto the bill. It may vary from lender to lender, if they would actually send you something, or the
might be
student
the lender.
a
That's actually
notification.
online thing, all right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, you online. You'd see that, and again, we'll talk about how to set TouchNet up, the online billing, but you will see that spelled out.
Okay.
And basically, if you see that, those loans spelled out on the online bill. So, but I can try to answer that better if it isn't enough. Yes?
Is there a better lender than another?
For direct loans, we don't choose the lender. It's the federal government. So as far as private loans, we can talk about that. We do have some advice on our website. We have 7 lenders we've chosen that we feel are really good choices. We've done a lot of research to make sure they're the right ones that we can recommend. And they're always changing they're always coming up with better products because they're in competition with one another. So, we'll go over that too. That's a good question. Okay, so some of you might have been selected for verification. I hope it was a painless process. That's our goal, is to get you through it. But of course, the IRS threw in that little curveball and made tax transcripts a little more difficult to get. So again, we understand. We definitely want to work with you through this. So that's a situation if you're having trouble completing verification. If you don't even know what I'm talking about, you probably weren't selected. But the federal government will randomly select people every year. This is a process that happens every year based on your FAFSA, and they're basically just looking for information to verify that the money or the figures, the estimated figures on the FAFSA were accurate, and they do that by asking us to collect paperwork. And sometimes UNE will select some people, and sometimes it's the federal government. So you just have to be, it's just basically a process of it's a good idea as you're going through, getting your kids through college, making sure your paperwork is in good order and organized. And I'm not always very good at that, as, searching through reams of boxes and things like that. It's probably not, don't do what I do. So, keeping things in order, keeping things in folders, organized, you can whip it out and give it to us when we need it. W-2s are things that they ask for in verification. Tax transcript for the given year. And we also have a form that you need to fill out for the most part. So definitely see us. I've had our assistant director, Meg, reaching out to people to make sure that and Rachel does this too, and Donna, if you need help completing verification, we want to be there to get you through it as best we can. Okay, and sometimes it's harder than others. So just for you to know too, in future years, this happens every year, you'll resubmit the FAFSA every year because families' finances change. So you have to complete a FAFSA every year for financial aid. And you might be selected one year or not another year. So for returning students, which next year you'll have returning students, they are not awarded financial aid until the verification process is complete, whereas your kids, if you were selected, did get an estimated award because we know you're in the process of making a decision. So, but for returning UNE students, they actually some will call and go, my kid didn't get a financial aid award. So it might be because your family was selected for verification. So just so you know, and it's a much later process in the spring with returning students because we're trying to take care of all the incoming students first so that they can make their decisions. So just like you. You're still special, but we just have to, do things in a certain order. So, okay, so a little bit about costs, which again, I know it's really entertaining information, but just so you know what you're looking at, we base the budget on direct costs and indirect costs. And so tuition, fees, room and board, just so you know, there's a little bit of confusion about room and board. When we award financial aid, the room and board figure is based on a Featherman triple, which is I don't know, what would you say about Featherman? It's a newer dorm?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's based on it's based on a triple, which most freshmen are assigned to, but it's based on the higher end triple. Okay, so there's a lower cost triple that your child may end up. So the good news is your bill could be a little bit lower. But when you were billed, I know this is a little confusing, when you were billed at the double rate, which probably seemed higher, which it is. More room, more money, I guess, is how they do it. So just so you know, that $12,920 is different than what showed up on the bill. And again, we kind of estimate the worst possible scenario for you, so that you can plan accordingly. So those July 15th housing will be assigned, and they'll actually get the actual room rate based on the dorm they're assigned to. So that next billing should be adjusted when they get their actual room assignments. So the bill you just received is really preliminary. It's an early snapshot of what it's going to look like. Things will definitely change as things are getting assigned and taken off and all of that. And we will talk about health insurance, I promise. Indirect costs, just for you to know, these are kind of the highest estimated costs we expect: books and supplies, transportation, miscellaneous, personal expenses. That varies from person to person, depending where you live, depending how they shop for books, if they go with used books versus new books. So again, those are just estimated, but good for you to plan as you're looking to figure out what the out-of-pocket and the loan amounts will be as you get to August 3rd.
So when you talk about books and supplies, are you thinking about like laptop, or are you really just thinking about like 10 pencils and books?
That's a good
And then
question.
miscellaneous, like does that
Laptop?
Does any of that include a laptop? And the indirect is not things that you bill us, that's things. we
Right,
expect.
yes, that's a good point. We don't bill you for indirect costs. We only bill you for direct. But I don't,
So if you needed to borrow an additional loan to cover the indirect costs, books, supplies, etc., if you needed to borrow more than what your loan eligibility would be, we can recognize the cost of a computer once during their undergrad career. So if you need to borrow more than what we're saying that you can borrow, let us know and then we can work with you. But I would say for the typical student, they don't need to do that. So the indirect cost, that really is just books and supplies. It doesn't necessarily include a laptop, but we can do that if we need to.
so if you're planning for the student to go to school and buy a new laptop, so what Rachel's saying is you can let us know that and we can add it to the budget. So that means that determines what you're able to borrow money for to pay for college. Yeah.
What some students do is they will borrow enough loan or additional funding to cover their direct costs, and then if they have enough left, they use their, what we refer to as a refund, to buy their books with. So if you're planning to do that, if you're planning to buy a computer with the refund, the financial aid, the excess financial aid, then we can certainly, look at your budget and make sure you have enough room in the budget to be able to do that.
Right, and the only problem with that is the refund comes after
Yeah,
ad
yeah.
drop, so it's a little tricky. They won't be able to actually use that money because we have to wait until the ad drop period to issue refunds. So it's,
What's the ad drop?
I'm sorry, ad drop period is basically, there's a 2-week period where they can change their classes once they get here. So I know, I forget you guys haven't just been here all day listening to all of this, but, so there's a 2-week period where they can basically change their schedules if they need to. So we kind of allow that time, and then the money disperses, recognizing that there might be changes to the schedules.
So adding or dropping a class?
Adding and dropping a class, yep, registration, exactly. Yeah.
When will they get a book list of what books they need?
A book list. I believe that's part of the registration and advising session, that mandatory session I was talking about, with they'll learn how to use you online. That's when they'll be registering for their courses, and I believe that comes with a book list, right?
Yeah, once they register for the courses, I'm not sure exactly how, I think they just go to the Follett, which is the bookstore webpage, and with their course registration number.
Okay.
And it'll tell them what books they need. They
Okay.
can either order it there, or some people go through Amazon, or there's lots of
Right.
ways for them to find the
So
books.
they'll get their courses as they're here. They'll be registering for their courses. And so they'll know what courses and what books, and then they can be shopping.
She already did her orientation class.
Oh, okay.
Because she does have her classes, but
Yeah.
does that have, I asked her if she had a book list, and she said, no, she didn't get one yet.
I think if they go to the bookstore webpage, and each course has a code associated with it, the CRN number, course reference number, and they enter that code into the bookstore webpage, it'll tell them what books they need, and they can either order them through the bookstore or buy them when they get here, or look online, there's, right, so that's where they get their book list, because faculty will tell the bookstore which books it needs for the course, so they may still be figuring that out.
So if she has her classes, I can check that box.
Yeah, they can go to the bookstore website.
Down at the bookstore, they get this.
How do I get my textbook?
How do I get my textbooks? Awesome. I guess you have to like the UNE bookstore website. That's what you have to do.
Right on the counter.
Oh, okay. So do this after June orientation, after you get your schedule of classes. Go to You Online, see how important You Online is. Student services, click on registration, term, all that. So again, sit with them this weekend when they get home and go through You Online with them. It's a wealth of information. But basically, you'll see a blue highlighted link for eFollett at the bottom of the page. Click on it to go to the eFollett website. and the page will load your required textbooks. You're not required to buy them through that site though, so just so you know, they can do a little bit of shopping. Thank you so much. I've never known that before, so we're always learning, right? Okay, so I only have about 20 minutes left. They don't want me to stand here all day because I'm not the most entertaining of the day, so yes.
I just have a question or rather a comment about books. I have 2 older children who've gone through college before, bought their books ahead of time, and then when they got to class, the professor never used either the study guide or one of the recommended. Would you recommend that the student attend class first?
Oh boy.
I mean, you know, you can pay.
Yeah, I don't feel equipped to answer that. I would ask someone smarter than me later today. Right. They'll meet with their advisors while they're here, and I would definitely recommend they ask that. While they're here for orientation. Yeah, they'll be meeting with their advisors. Okay.
I've had in the past, a long time ago, if you didn't buy the book and then you went to go buy the book after classes started, they ran out.
Right. Yeah, I'm having flashbacks from college right now, like really like PTSD almost. I was remembering this, yes. I'm like, unfortunately, this is nothing I'll be able to solve, but I will certainly help you figure this out afterwards. If you want to stop by, we can at least get you to the right person who can answer the questions. Okay, so just as far as, back to the bill, sorry. The financial aid package basically are the grants and scholarships. Okay, we do count outside scholarships that they get. We'll talk about that in a minute. We encourage ongoing searches for scholarships. Do not let them give up on searching for scholarships just because they're a freshman. Do never ever give up on searching for scholarships. But basically part of the financial aid package, and note here that federal work study does not get deducted from the bill. We talked about that already because they're going to earn it as they go. So part of the financial aid package are the unsubsidized direct loans, which are non-need based. Subsidized Perkins are need based, meaning the expected family contribution was low enough to allow those. And our grants and scholarships, we have both merit based on academics and need-based scholarships, okay? So, so then what you want to think about is what personal funds do you have? Again, we want to keep borrowing as low as possible. That's not always possible, but you know, again, working to keep that low, and that's part of making them work too. You know, even if it's $1,000, get them to work and contribute that. Direct payments, figure that out. We also have a zero interest-free tuition payment plan. We'll talk about that. And then once you've kind of figured out what you can do on a monthly basis or a direct payment, if anything, that's when you consider what other loans you might look at. And here are 2 good website links to look at. I forgot to mention it, I didn't bring one, but that undergraduate startup guide, I did mention it, sorry. When you got that with your bill and the UG Startup Guide website, it has all of this on it. So be sure to access that if you haven't already, if you haven't looked at it or gotten it online. Take a look at that because all of this information is on there. So, because I know I'm throwing a lot at you and I want to make sure you have everything you need. But like for instance, these 2 loan websites are on that guide. But you can go to, if you want the plus loan, it's une.edu plus loan, private loans, une.edu private loans. Those are the ones we recommend. We've vetted 7 of them and we feel pretty confident that they're good ones. As far as the difference between the 2 different loans, just a little note again, we're here for you, I really mean it. Just so you know the difference, a lot of people ask, well, which loan should I get? That is such a personal decision. It's not something, we can give you the information, but we can't advise you. We're not financial planners, believe it or not. And we don't feel comfortable telling you what loan to take out, but we can give you the information. The plus loan, basically they're just looking that you have no adverse credit history, okay? So it's not dependent on your credit score. The interest rate starting July 1st, so this will be applicable to you because the loan won't disperse until September. 6.84% interest rate this year. So it's actually come down. We were a little concerned last year with 7.21. It was starting to get up there into a place that wasn't fun to talk about. Probably the biggest disadvantage of the plus loan is that it's a 4.292 loan fee, which is deducted from the loan amount. So you want to make sure if you're taking a plus loan, you factor that amount in there. And that's one of the things on the application you can say, I want the maximum of what I need to borrow, basically. But so that's definitely a disadvantage. I think some of the private lenders, they're not charging fees like this to use their loans. Private loans, though, are dependent on your credit score, okay? So some people can get them, some people can get better credit rates than others, some might not be able to get them, and you might be able to only get the plus loan. So again, it's a very, very personal thing. You might have a lender that you've worked with your whole life that you would prefer to go through, and they have student loans. I just found out our local bank has a great student loan. So that's the kind of thing, it's a lot of research on your part. There are a lot of lender choices out there, and the loan, the difference between, I guess the other big difference, the plus loan, the parent plus loan, the loan is in the parent's name, and the private loan, the loan would be in the student's name, but the student would need a cosigner. They don't have credit built up yet, most of them don't. I've had one so far. He was able to get one by himself. He'd had 2 car loans in his time, whatever time that was. I'm like, how much time have you had to pay that? So he was able to get one, but that's pretty rare. They usually need a cosigner, a credit-worthy cosigner in order to take out a private loan. And we do have a tuition payment plan once you're an authorized user, because you're going to talk to them about that on your way home, about adding you. You'll be able to set up a tuition payment plan. Like I said, that's 0% interest. It's just a $50 enrollment fee. It's a pretty good, it's a great way to divide those, whatever you're paying out of pocket up. If you sign up by July 20th, it's 10 payments. So it's a good way, and it's basically, it's counted as, the full amount is counted toward the August 3rd arrangements that need to be made, okay? And it will count toward the January bill as well. So, so that's a good option if you do have the money, but you want to spread it out. That's what you probably want to think about first, and then just put the loans in place for the rest of it.
Is that an annual fee for that?
It's an annual fee, yes it is. Yep. But if you set it up for a year, you're only going to pay that $50 fee once. Okay, so you don't want to set up 2 different plans. You want to set up a year-long plan for the one-time $50 fee. That's just a maintenance fee, basically.
Can that be set up now?
Yes.
How do we set that up?
I think it's the next screen. It's, no, it's not, sorry, I lied.
It's coming.
It's coming, right, it's coming. You actually will go, that My UNE bill, that link, that will get you, once you're an authorized user, I have to say that. You'll be able to go My UNE bill, you'll be able to go into that payment portal, and you'll be able to set up, there's a tab that says payment plans, and you'll be able to set that up there. And you have the option with that of setting up auto deduct if you want it. I wouldn't do that if you haven't satisfied, if you haven't figured out loans and all of that, if you haven't put those in place yet. But if you have the loans certified and approved and all in place, then basically, because that tuition payment plan is going to be based on the balance that is left over after everything else has been applied. So you just want to make sure, if you don't want to have a $15,000 balance that you're planning on covering 10 with a loan, and then set up a tuition payment plan with auto pay, you know, because then before the loan, that's the only little thing that you want to be careful of. But you can pay every month. You can go in there and pay every month. They'll give you reminders for the payment plan. They'll say you enrolled in a payment plan, your payment is coming due. You can do it like that. So it's really good. You can store credit cards, you can store payment methods, that kind of thing. It makes it very, very easy, except for the pain of, it can't do anything about the pain of paying it, but it can make it easy to navigate if nothing else. Yeah?
Question about the new hire paperwork.
Yes.
Are you going to talk about
I am.
Okay.
This is the biggest question we have, which is funny, but it's great. It is. Again, you think about any time you've started a job, you've had to fill out all that paperwork, right? That's all they're doing with this new hire paperwork. It's the W-4s, both Maine and federal. It's a confidentiality agreement. It's the I-9, which is the citizenship, and that's the tricky part. That's why we need to see them in person with their IDs. And there's also a direct deposit form option. If you want them to take advantage of that. So, so just very quickly, I said this already, but both the UNE and the federal government fund, they basically allot money for work study where we can use it to pay students to do meaningful, very meaningful jobs, some of them really, really meaningful. I can't believe the knowledge that our girls have at the end of the year, when you think about what they're learning about financial aid and regulations and customer service and all of that stuff. That is a resume builder. Probably a little more than sitting at a desk, you know, in a residence hall, but that's valuable too. Sorry, oh, I didn't know Tony was there, I just dumped on him, I'm so sorry. But that's valuable too, because, you know, it's safety and security that they're promoting. So I did that as a student. I remember I sold ice cream sandwiches. That was really, really valuable life experience. So, yeah.
Will the kids need their social security card or birth certificate with them on campus?
Not once, no. Only for this purpose will they need it, I think. Tony, can you think of any reason they need that? No. So the best thing to do is either when you come back and get them on Friday, bring it with you if they don't have it already, or they can do this paperwork in August when they get back. When you bring them again, we can get it all done and then you can take that ID home with you. We really don't want those kind of IDs kicking around in their dorm room if possible. Okay, we can't take copies, unfortunately.
So they do this paperwork at orientation?
They can do it at orientation.
Because she's printed it all
Yep.
and has it all. but
Yes, if she has
doesn't
everything,
know
we'll
what
take
to
care
do
of her. Yeah, she can come do it with us. That's what we're kind of promoting, because it keeps the line a little shorter in our office in August. But they can, just so everybody knows, they don't have to do this paperwork before they actually get a job. This is all happening simultaneously. So they can be looking for jobs and even getting a job in August and September before they complete the paperwork. They just have to have the paperwork done, new hire paperwork, before they actually work a day. That's what they need from us. And they'll get a work study authorization form. We'll give it so they can give it to the employer and say, here, I do have work study. That's all. It's just again, it's a process we need to go through to make sure all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted.
Quick question, what's the minimum and maximum hours?
There really isn't. It's really dependent on the student. It's dependent on what they are looking. They can come in and say, when they're interviewing, they can say, I really only want 5 hours a week. I know Rachel's in charge of our work study students. She makes that work. So if she has one that just wants to work 5 hours and she needs 10 hours filled, she'll just hire 2 students at 5 hours each. So, but I'd say generally what they work is anywhere between like 6 to 12 hours a week. We know their students first, okay? So that we're really committed to that. So that if they call and say, I have a huge test, I really want to study, do you mind if I don't come in? Rachel is extremely understanding of that. I believe all of the employees, that's sort of the work-study philosophy, that they're students first. But we try to teach them valuable work experience too, that you show up on time, you dress appropriately, all of that. But we just encourage them to contact us to keep us informed of their schedules, that kind of thing.
So can they not look for a job until mid-August?
The site won't be live until mid-August, exactly. So we start posting the jobs, we start posting them in August, and they'll get an email saying, go ahead and start looking, the jobs are live. But right now the jobs are not. We're waiting for the employers to submit the new jobs to us. Okay.
The interview part, is that like a Skype thing, or do we have to come back up?
I think the employers do whatever works, to be honest. Sometimes it's phone, Skype, sometimes it's email. We have had students who applied for jobs by saying, hey, I want this job. I'd encourage you to encourage them not to probably respond to, job classification ads that way. But yeah, some of them just do it in email and they say, just come in when school starts so we can meet you. I mean, it's all pretty flexible. Again, we understand they live away, we understand they're students. Yes?
Is the federal work study, is that only for students who were awarded that, or is that's, so, I'd heard at other colleges, I don't know if it's true here, that if students who were awarded it didn't do it, like they didn't look for a job, they didn't take advantage of it.
Right.
It kind of goes open market for anybody who may want to apply for it, but weren't awarded for it at first.
Right, we actually, you have to have room, expected family contribution has to basically establish that there's enough financial need for us to award it, but there are plenty of non-work study jobs, and you can actually, did we bring any of them? We did. Someplace in our little cart here with all our boxes. We have, I usually have them out, but we actually have a list of non-work study jobs, so if this doesn't apply to your student, and you're going, well, we do have a list, there's plenty of jobs on campus, not as many as work study, I'll be honest, but there's definitely a list of employers who, like if your kid has a lifeguard certification, you're golden, because they need them so badly. They're not just limiting those jobs to work study, some of those higher skilled jobs. So there definitely are jobs for everyone on campus. I've heard there's schools where you don't get the first list of jobs, there's absolutely nothing. And that's, we don't want that to happen. We want them to be working. We're trying to encourage them to participate and pay for their own things and help pay for their education. We want to make sure their job's available.
Where are those job listings? Because this is for work safety.
Right, Rachel's digging that out right now. So, and if we can't find it, we'll take your email address and we'll get that to you. Okay? All right, so I have a whopping 6 minutes left. See, no problem, right? Way ahead of myself. Okay, so real quickly, these are the forms you've all seen because you've probably all worked. These are the forms of ID that we can take along with the photo ID, the social security card, maybe a birth certificate. Again, we have to see them in person simply because of the I-9. We have to actually verify they are who they are, so it has to be the student in person. But we're very, very, I mean, you can come to our office anytime between 8 and 4:30, and I'll even stay later if you need me to. I have teenagers at home. I don't mind staying late. They're already bored. Summer started 2 days ago. They're already bored. So anyway, so we try to be very, very accessible to you.
Does a driver's license and a student ID count?
No, driver's license, student ID would be the same thing. That's the photo
Just text
ID.
me.
Yeah.
Literally,
Is that not funny?
Student ID is on the list.
Student ID can be instead of the driver's license, but then we also need a birth certificate or a social security card. That's mostly what people bring in. Okay, that's it. Some of this is the presentation we do for the kids because they don't know what these forms are. They're like, what are you talking about? And then this is the direct deposit form. It's going to go away real quick because I didn't fix it. But if you do want direct deposit, hang on, I'll do that again. If you do want them to take advantage of direct deposit, we just need either a bank letter or a voided check to go with this form. See, it's going to go away again. See, I do have a magic show. I told you I had something. So just make sure, I know a lot of people don't have checks anymore, but if they open an account here, they will get some starter checks. They can use those. Payroll just wants to see in print rather than only in handwriting. They want to see the account number and the routing number from the bank. So you can also get a letter from the bank. So we have to have two things for that to happen. Yeah.
When we checked in this morning, there was a bank that was there. I don't remember what bank.
People's United.
People's United.
Yeah, that's our preferred bank.
Okay, that's the bank that's working through campus?
Yes.
When I say working through campus, they probably got ATAs on campus.
They have, right, ATM machines.
ATMs.
Yep, and they can actually set up an account with them. They're available for that. Yes.
Do they have to use that bank?
No.
He has a
Any bank.
So it can go direct deposit to that account.
Oh, absolutely, any bank. That's a bank that if they want to set up new accounts and they want something accessible here on campus, that's what we use.
So do the checks have to be direct deposit?
No.
Okay. So
They don't have to be direct deposit, but then they have to physically walk to the business office and pick them up. So just so they know, we encourage it.
Multiple, like, can they do, like, say, we tell him he has to do half direct
Yes.
deposited and half he can get in a physical
That's a
check?
great idea, yes. Yes, because that's a way to show them how to budget. So some of it's going directly into an account, and some of it is coming to them in a live check. And again, probably easier if you're doing that to have a People's United account just because they have check cashing and all of that, so. Okay.
If they don't get their checks direct deposited, can they cash on campus somewhere? Is there a...
No? There's no place to cash them, I guess.
Okay.
So that would be a good reason to direct deposit. But you could have them save all their checks, right?
Mail them home.
Yeah, mail them home, that's right. Okay, real quick, I'm only on 6 and I have 3 minutes left. Outside funding, very quickly, if they have outside scholarships, yahoo, yay, I'm like, doing like the wave when I see them bring them in, because that's great news. That means they did something, right? They worked a little bit more to get some money. We just need copies of the notification of those scholarships, okay? And every $200, $100 counts. I had a girl yesterday bring in a stack. They were all little teeny scholarships. They added up to $3,700. So I'm like, woo! Like, I wish I could give her a little award or something. But that's great, and that's why we want them to do that. A lot of them are local ones she got from her community, that kind of thing. But, so all we need is a copy of the letter, basically. If they're not sending the check right away directly, we will memo that money on the account if you do that. Okay?
Question over here.
Yeah.
You just said something about 200, only 100 or something, but you didn't finish the thought.
Oh, I didn't? I'm
No.
sorry. Oh, boy, I'm losing it. Actually, if it's like a $100 scholarship, we want a copy of that so that we can add, if they're going to be sending that. A lot of these outside scholarships don't arrive until spring because they want some assurance that the student's going to do well and will stay, and they'll give them the scholarship in the spring. So if you make sure you give us a copy of that notification, even for $100, we will memo that on their account. Okay?
One more question.
Yeah.
Some schools I've heard, if there are outside scholarships, they're automatically deducted. Next year, you're going to see a deduction.
We don't do that.
Okay.
I'm so happy we don't do that because, so what she's asking is, some schools, if they get outside scholarships, they'll just take away the institutional scholarship and replace it with that. We don't do that. What we will do, if we have to reduce anything because there's no room in the budget for the outside scholarship, we will work on reducing the loans and the work study before we do anything. Very, very rare instances the kid has gotten so much money that we've had to deduct from the scholarship, but that truly is very rare. So we work on reducing the loans and the work study if we have to reduce anything. And sometimes there's room. Sometimes there's room and we don't have to touch the award at all. But if we have to reduce anything because it doesn't fit into the budget, we will reduce the need-based loans and work study. Okay, so that, I'm so glad we do that because that'd be tough to explain. Okay, so August 3rd, the payment arrangements should be in place. This is online billing, very important for you to get involved in that and become an authorized user so you can see what's going on. Basically it recalculates every day, so you can see that bill live, you can see the activity that's occurred, you can see what's going on. This is the important, so we finally basically have a parent portal. We didn't have one before, so this just opened last Monday. So you're the guinea pigs, so are we actually, so we're just learning. And here are the links, and again, this is in that undergraduate startup guide that we sent to you, and you can get online. So all of this is there. All right, health insurance. It wasn't supposed to open till July 1st, but you can now waive your health insurance. Everybody had to be charged for health insurance because all Maine students have to be covered. So we have to, at first, make the assumption that they're not covered. Most of you are covered, or are covering them. So you'll go on, you can go on now. Not now, because that would be rude, but now, like coming soon now. You can go on, you just go to UNE.edu /health insurance. This has to be done online, and even if you're enrolling, you have to do it online. This is completely separate from us. We just make it easy for you to get there, but you have to have the insurance card information that you'll fill in.
Parents can do that, or the student has to do it?
Parents can do that.
So we can do that, even if
You
you
can
haven't
do
added.
that, exactly. So that's why we give you the direct link. I know, it's crazy. So now through August 19th, you can do that.
That's all working now? 'Cause I tried to
It
do
is working now.
I tried to do it a couple days ago.
No, a couple days ago it wasn't open. This was like breaking information, like this is hot off the presses, like you're the first group. So you should have heard our office when it opened yesterday. It was like, it was like we won the Super Bowl. Because we are answering, so we understand you don't want to be charged with something you don't need. That totally makes sense. So yes, it's open, you can do it now.
So I might have missed this, but so that fee comes off this bill, and
Right.
then will it also come off the spring, or is it a one?
No, it's a one-time charge, yes it is. Yeah, so that's the good news. Your bills were too high if you're waiving health insurance, okay? So again, see, these are the things I've been hired to work around, and I'm doing my best.
And do we do that every year?
Every year, yes, because they can't assume that your health insurance plan covers you for 4 years, so you can see why you have to do that every year, okay?
Does anything tell us what this health insurance plan covers?
Yes, when you go to the health insurance website, it will explain, there's a benefit summary on there. So that actually will get you straight to the health insurance page, and everything you need to know about health insurance, and probably more than you really want to know, is there. So, okay, real quick. And yes, good. See, you guys are way ahead of me. Must be waived annually. If something goes wrong, this is really important. We're just going to assume this never happens to any of you, but things do happen. We just want you to know that we definitely want you to be in touch with us if something in your family goes wrong that affects your finances. Okay, that's basically the message. She looks really happy. Apparently nothing's happened to her, but, things happen. And so just let us know if there's anything, basically if there's anything the FAFSA doesn't reflect about you, talk to us about it. We can let you know if there's something we can do to adjust things. Sometimes it doesn't adjust anything, but at least it's worth a conversation, and that's what we're there to do. Very quickly, they're going to go through all this stuff, so I'm not even going to talk about it because Tony's up there rolling his eyes because I'm taking all his time. No, I'm kidding. Just very quickly, because this does have to do with financial aid in the bill. We have, and I'm sorry, that date is wrong. I forgot. Basically, that'd be mean. That's on a Saturday. So on Monday the 3rd, payment arrangements have to be in place. That just means your loans need to be applied for and certified. Payment plans need to be signed up for. If you're making direct payments, that has to be done by August 3rd. Spring bills will be mailed right around Christmas time. But I'm thinking that'd make a good present for your students, put it in a little box, Just a reminder, they should be working. Spring bills are due before classes resume in January, and basically you start this whole lovely process again in around February, March, where you do file the FAFSA again, and I do urge you to do it. If nothing else, you get the unsubsidized direct loan, which is, it's only 3.86% interest. So at least apply. It doesn't commit you to anything. But go ahead and file the FAFSA again in February, March. You don't lose any money if you wait until then. With the returning students, you can even just kick back. You don't have to do the crazy January 1st thing where everybody's New Year's Day at the table filing the FAFSA. Because now you know you're at UNE. You're not going to lose any funding. We don't have priority funding or anything like that. So you can even wait until your taxes are completed, as long as it's within if they're not completed till October, I wouldn't wait till then. But if you're waiting to get your taxes done in February, March, that's why we say that to returning students, you can wait. You don't have to do the estimated like you did this year. So much easier. And that's our website. Oops, sorry. SFS, just edu at SFS. And that's it. Phew. So I'll stay, Rachel will stay. We'll be out in the hallway though, so other people can do their song and dance. And thank you so much for coming. And we'll see you soon.